If you're looking to buy new construction in Dallas, you need to watch this video because we're gonna walk through the traps that even the most experienced buyers fall into. And I tell you right now, you're not gonna find this information on any other video because I would guess even most realtors don't understand or know to look out for these traps. So your very first trap that even your most experienced buyers fall into is believing that list price has anything to do with actual value. Now this one is a biggie. I mean, maybe you feel very confident in your abilities to negotiate. The problem is, where do you start those negotiations? Because if you're starting at list price, you've already messed up. Right here in the Dallas area, and particularly with new construction, you see an enormous amount of sellers using price changes as a sales strategy. I personally call it price shuffling. And basically, this is when a seller raises the price on a home well beyond what it's even remotely worth, and then does like a really drastic price reduction. Now, the catch here is that even after the price reduction, the home is still overpriced. When you go to the grocery store, all right, you expect to pay $3 for a gallon of milk and you pay $3. But with real estate, it's different. Like, you wanna know you're getting a good deal. And this whole price strategy plays into that. When you see a home that has just had a price reduction of $70,000, I mean, tell me your heart's not gonna beat a little faster, right? We all want a good deal, and this setup can make you feel that you've gotten one. Now, I wanna show you an example of this with a list of homes in McKinney at Trinity Falls. In this report, you can see it shows the original price per square foot along with the original list price. Now, these homes are all listed in the $580,000 to $600,000 range. If you don't know Dallas real estate, right, and especially if you're coming from an area where real estate prices are higher, are you even gonna doubt that that's what the house is worth? I mean, probably not, right? Then the builder has an aggressive price drop. And we're talking steep discounts of over $70,000 on numerous houses. By the way, okay, this is where you see housing crash videos showing you massive price drops. Like, anytime you see a video focusing on how much list prices have come down, they're just encouraging the same mindset, right? That list price has anything to do with value or changes in value. Here's the salient point. A home's value is determined by closed sales. It is not in any way determined by list prices. Now, price drops in and of themselves, they don't really tell you anything. If you're into watching housing crash videos, all right, what you would want to see is a video where they told you these 4 homes sold for $500,000 and now these identical homes are listed for $400,000, okay? That would be a true reflection of market change because it's referencing closed sales. Okay, so in our example, our builder seller just dropped prices by $70,000 or more across the board. We're talking from $583,000 to $511,000, from $581,000 to $525,000, and so on. However, then we go in and we do a market analysis based on comparable closed sales. Now, when we do that, we see the real value of these homes is $231 per square foot. So in our example, if you would have bought the first home on the list after a massive price reduction, bringing the price all the way from $583,000 to $511,000, all right, I have some bad news for you. The home is actually only worth $458,000. So you felt really good about the deal you negotiated, but you overpaid for this home, and now you're upside down by $53,000. So in this situation, where you felt very confident in your ability to negotiate, you still overpaid. You took your hard-earned capital, either from saving for years, or selling your previous home, and you put it into a home that isn't worth what you paid for it. So hear me when I say, all right, list price has nothing to do with what the home is actually worth. Okay, so we have what you're going to pay for the home, and we also have what you're going to pay for your loan. And this is where our second trap shows up, which is overpaying for closing costs. We're talking the confusion that comes with rate buy downs, forward commitments, as well as just how muddied the waters get when it's new construction. All right, so let's unpack that. With your real trap here being that you're so inundated with numbers that you end up overpaying by thousands of dollars. Listen, when your seller and lender are working together, which is what you see, right, with new construction, you've got all the makings of a shell game. Here's the thing, you may have bought numerous times in the past 10 to 15 years, but you never faced all these loan options because from like 2009 on, rates have been consistently low. So if you had an interest rate of 4%, a fixed rate mortgage was a no-brainer. But now we're in the season of 7% and rate buy downs and forward commitments, and buyers end up getting trapped into making poor decisions. So the first thing you're gonna have to do, okay, if you wanna work your way through this, is to learn the terminology. Rocket Mortgage explains a buy down is a way for a borrower to obtain a lower interest rate by paying discount points at closing. Okay, so what is a discount point? Well, discount points are a one-time fee paid up front. All right, now some key words here are lower interest rate, paying, and at closing. Now let's compare that to the forward commitment. Devin Bachman explains this best. He says builders purchase forward commitments which provide tranches of money at below market rates to originate mortgages for their buyers. Okay, now there's a lot of big words there, but what you need to know is this is a completely different animal than a rate buy down, okay? We are talking completely different. This is purchased by the builder long before you even enter the scene, all right? It's in the past. The builder decides it will apply to a certain amount of homes, and often he'll have already picked out exactly which homes. With a forward commitment, you absolutely can get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 4% interest without having to navigate discount points and wonder if a shell game is going on. So if everything else works about the house, the location, the style of the house, and especially, and most importantly, the market value, all right, to me, this is always your top choice. I mean, forward commitments are gold, but just be aware, if you ask a sales consultant or even a lot of realtors, they're not going to understand this distinction. But let's just say that's not an option, but a rate buy down is. All right, you're gonna be looking at a lot of numbers and you have to be able to wade through it. So here's your first tip. Know what you're looking for. Separate the loan estimate that they're gonna give you, okay, between loan fees, third-party fees, title company fees, and escrow fees. And once you've done that, focus on the loan fees. So we're gonna cut to the chase by asking one question. Okay, are you ready? What interest rate are you offering and how much will it cost me? We always encourage our buyers to obtain at least 3 loan estimates, one of which is usually going to be the builder's lender. All right, next, we personally prepare a spreadsheet for our buyer and then we have a meeting to compare the loan estimates together. All right, here's an example. On our first loan estimate, we ask ourselves, what interest rate are they offering? And here it is, 6.25%. Okay, so how much will that rate cost me? Well, $11.25. On our second loan estimate, we ask the same question. What interest rate are they offering? 6.25%. How much will that rate cost me? Well, this one has a bit more to think about, all right? The lender fee is $1,640 with a grant of $8,000 and a lender credit of $500. Now let's take a look at the loan estimate provided by the builder's lender. You're gonna see it has a lot more options, and they are offering $10,000 towards a rate buy down or the buyer's closing costs. But if we narrow it down by asking the same question, we see, all right, for option 1, what interest rate are they offering? 6.49%. How much will that rate cost me? $13,973. For option 2, same question, what interest rate will I get? 6.624% at a cost of $11,644. For option 3, it is 6.875% at a cost of $8,539. And for option 4, the interest rate is 6.99% at a cost of $5,434. So our builder's lender has provided a ton of numbers and a lengthy synopsis of how you'll get your lowest monthly payment or your lowest total cash to close or your lowest cost loan. So if you prided yourself, right, on being an experienced buyer, comfortable with the math, you might make your decision based on the builder's loan estimate. I mean, after all, the builder will pay $10,000 towards your closing costs. So let's look back at our chart factoring in that $10,000 credit. All right, a 6.49% rate will cost you $3,973 after the $10,000 credit. But with our first lender, you could get a 6.25% rate for $11.25. And with our second lender, you could get a 6.25% for essentially nothing, considering there's an $8,000 grant plus a $500 lender credit. I wanted you to see a few things with this example. First of all, it's going to be a lot of numbers to work through, but we will help you with that. And second of all, even with a $10,000 credit, the builder's lender is overcharging. A going rate is obviously 6.25%, since both third-party lenders were able to offer that. But the builder's offering between 6.5% and 7%, charging you a lot of points to get there, and then offering you a credit. Now, I'm hoping now that you've seen this, that you won't be able to unsee it. Another big issue I see, even with experienced buyers, is transposing what you know about the housing market in your current state to how things are in Dallas. When you're coming from a state with a hot real estate market, and you get here and a sales consultant tells you homes are flying off the shelves and you better commit right now, well, that's how the market is in your old state. Right? So you'd be likely to believe that, all right? I mean, maybe in your old state, you just sold your home and you had multiple offers and got 10% over the list price. Well, you're naturally going to go into Dallas thinking you'll need to offer aggressively. You'll have a sense of urgency. But guess what? That's not the Dallas market. All right, the market is way softer here and buyers definitely have the upper hand. You also may be used to having access to closed sales to get an idea of market value. Well, you can't do that here because Texas is a non-disclosure state. So you head to Dallas, assuming it's a seller's market since that's what you've just come from. And now, adding to that, you're blind to closed sales because you can't see them here in Texas. Now, keep in mind, people who don't actually represent you, like listing agents and sales consultants, are gonna say anything to give you a sense of urgency and get you to sign a contract. Okay, they're just doing their job. And if you don't understand the local housing market, there's no way to tell if what they're saying is actually true. When I think about market conditions and the importance of having access to closed sales and a good market analysis, another huge mistake I see is not taking the time to vet a realtor. Now, you need to have a meeting where your entire focus is on representation and what they are going to do for you. Now, I think this through for a minute. Why are you thinking about using a realtor in the first place? Because you need them to do something for you, right? Okay, so why would you not take a systematic, organized approach to find out exactly what it is that they're going to do? All right, now for this, you need to have an actual meeting, all right? Not something you discuss casually when you meet at a model home or at a showing, not something you just assume, right? Since this realtor has a lot of subscribers on YouTube. All right, we are talking about an actual bona fide meeting where the only focus is asking the realtor one thing: what are you gonna do for me? Now, I personally like to group what a realtor does in 3 categories. Okay, you ready? How are you gonna help me find a home? How are you going to research market value and negotiate for me? And how are you going to get me from contract to closing? And by the way, hopefully this goes without saying, but I am a realtor in the Dallas area. And I absolutely insist on this meeting. I have had buyers who will reach out, they've already found a home, and I'm like, you know what? We are still having this meeting, okay? This is not something I'm willing to negotiate on. I mean, even if you already know what house you want to buy, you need to know what I'm going to do for you. So we have 3 categories, and I want to give you an acid test question for each of these categories. Okay, you ready? Number 1, this is what you want to ask. How are you going to help me find homes that are not on the MLS? Remember, only 30 to 40% of new construction options are actually on the MLS. Now, this answer alone will tell you how proactive and organized a realtor is. And don't accept anything beyond a quantitative answer here. The realtor may say, oh, we do so much new construction that we're on the inside and we just know. Okay, no, don't accept that. Okay, there's way more new construction than that, and that's not quantitative. If they say they have a database of all new construction homes, okay, my response would be like, really? Do you have a full-time person whose sole job is to maintain it? I mean, homes go under contract constantly, right? Builders put out new inventory constantly. There is new inventory available that hasn't even made it to the builders' websites. So is the person maintaining the database calling these builders every day? So what you want to do is push for an individualized, quantitative response. For your second category, a good question to ask is, what do you know and do that can help me avoid paying too much? And along with that, how will you negotiate to help me get the best price? So even if you're a great researcher and you can find a terrific house on your own, And this is the area where you as a buyer may very well need the most help. All right, Texas is a non-disclosure state. That means you don't have access to sales data. Now this category, this phase, is going to define the caliber of your home as an investment. And make no mistake here, your home is an investment. I'm sure it's not an investment property. All right, we are not talking here about turning it into a rental, but it is an investment into your future. All right, it's the number that you're gonna plug into your net worth, okay? Maybe it's gonna be positive or maybe it's gonna be negative, right? So once again, push for a list, a quantitative answer, not vague assurances. Your third category is, how will you get me from going under contract to the closing table? So key questions to ask here are, will you read the contract with me? And how will you make sure I don't miss an important deadline? This is often the part where buyers will tell me they never heard from their agent again. You know, like typically the agent opened the door for them, typed up the offer for you to sign, and that was the extent of their services. All right, so you want a realtor to do more than open a door. So push for a detailed list of those services, set the bar high, and don't settle for less. This is more important now than ever. In 2024, the rules for buyers working with realtors changed because of something called the NAR settlement. So now, if you want a realtor to represent you, you have to sign a written agreement that outlines how much they'll be paid. Now, that does not necessarily mean you have to be the one to pay them, but it does mean you're responsible for making sure it's covered, and that's a big deal. You know, if it's on you to make sure they get paid, you really need to know what they're gonna do for you. Now, if this whole topic of the NAR settlement is foreign to you and you're being told you have to sign a buyer representation agreement when you've never had to do that in the past, well, it is true, all right? And the NAR settlement is here and it did make some big changes. The good news is you don't have to be in the dark about it, okay? I made an entire video about the changes that you can watch right here. In the meantime, Wendy out.